Continuing the previous episode, after it rained at the amusement park that night, Senju and Takemichi decided to take shelter at a cafe. A vision of Senju collapsing under the rain, could it be tonight? Seen Senju looking at the rain that does not stop. Meanwhile, Takemichi is still contemplating what will happen next, after he gets a mysterious vision that just appeared. Senju saw Takemichi acting strange. She said, "What's up, Hanagaki? You didn't even touch your food." Takemichi just answered, "Yeah." Then Senju tells Takemichi she wants to go to the restroom for a bit. Meanwhile, Takemichi still thinks about the mysterious vision he saw before. And Takemichi tries to relate every incident, and the clues he has seen before. If that's really a vision of the future, then Senju's gonna die tonight. What can I do? Who's going to attack her here? And if I'm not mistaken, she was injured on her head. Takemichi suddenly realized something. Ah, shit. I got too lost in my thoughts. After that, Takemichi went to the restroom. I should have kept an eye out for her. Senju. But what should I do? I mean, how did Senju get attacked? Suddenly a group of people wearing black masks and jackets approached Takemichi. Then one of the men said, "You must be Hanagaki Takemichi?" In his mind, Takemichi was shocked. "The target is me?" One of them said, "Is this guy seriously him?" "Yeah, that's definitely him, all right. He was with Kawaragi Senju." One of the men asks another if he is sure about his actions. In response, the other man reassures him, reminding him that their actions will help them improve their status. Yet another man protests, stating that they have already consulted South. However, the man pulls out a gun, responding that South will understand his actions. A gun? As he stares, he cautions her to stay back. As the man clutches the gun, warning Takemichi not to move, come near him. As he tackles her to the ground, the man fires the gun. However, at that moment, Takemichi rises, unscathed. As Senju looks up at him, Takemichi braces for the bullet, but is surprised when the gun clatters onto the ground. When to safety, Takemichi stammers in relief and surprise. Meanwhile, in another place, Mikey looks out the window saying, "I got a bad feeling about tonight." Then at the still shocked at Draken's sudden arrival, Takemichi thanks him for saving him. After Takemichi confirms that Senju is unharmed, Takemichi asks why Draken showed up. Draken said, "Inui heard it somewhere, that there were people planning to attack you tonight. And that they were heading over here, to the amusement park. They are Rokuhara's title around here. Those dudes were sure to shit their pants when they heard someone like you joined. They are involved with shady businesses, and companies invest in them. They have a different look in their eyes." Takemichi said, "I wonder what will happen next." Draken said, "Maybe Mikey saw this coming." And then Takemichi said, "Let's keep it between us, but just now, I was able to foresee the future. In the future, I saw Senju die. Protect me. I have prevented that terrible outcome. It's all thanks to you, Draken. We have successfully changed one future." Then with a smile, Draken said, "Is that so? Then I'm glad." Suddenly, Senju reminds them that they need to leave the premises, as they may get in trouble if found. As Takemichi runs behind Senju, he notices Draken still standing at the same place. Suddenly Draken tells Takemichi to relay a message to Mikey. Don't cause too much trouble. Takemichi wonders and he tells Draken to tell Mikey himself. Before Takemichi can finish his sentence, Draken falls to the ground, having sustained 3 gunshot wounds. Draken said, "I have done all I can do." Takemichi was saved, but in return, Draken lies defeated by the bullets from the enemy. When Draken wakes up, that's what he feels. "I can't hear a thing. I can't move my hands. The sky is getting blurry." Takemichi informs Draken that he has called an ambulance and Senju is looking for help. He tries reassuring Draken with a smile, "It will be all right. We will definitely save you." But Draken notices Takemichi's clenched fist. Then Draken realizes, I see. I'm dying. Upon hearing those words, Takemichi tears up. What are you talking about? Don't say something like that. Everything will be okay by tomorrow. Right? Because you are Draken. Then Draken said, Takemichi, don't blame yourself for this, okay? This all happened not because you came back to the past, but because of my own will. You saved my life, so I will gladly put my life on the line for you. Do you get me? Yeah. You know, when I was in elementary school, I lost so many fights. Someone like you? I messed with the older guys, you see. After losing, I'd crawl on the ground and stare at the sky like this. When I looked at the sky, everything else became so irrelevant to me. I found peace. But Mikey, never seen this sky. It's such a shame that he never experienced defeat. Takemichi. I really liked that guy. The way he carried everything on his back. And yet, somehow he was able to endure it all. All of that. I have been with him through all of that. That's why I wish I could have done something to help him. Hey Takemichi? Can I ask something lame of you? Please take care of Mikey. While holding back his tears, Takemichi said, absolutely. Then not long after that, the ambulance arrives. As the paramedics load Draken into the ambulance, Draken thinks back to January 1, 2005. Tokyo Manji leaders ride towards the beach to celebrate the new year. Draken asks the 1st and 4th Division captains and vice captains about their respective gang conflicts. Draken said, Baji, how did the Olympus incident go? Baji said, those punks were just the first squad, so we beat them up easily. Ain't that right, Chifuyu? Chifuyu said, yeah. Anyone who went against Baji was stripped naked. And I beat them up. Then Draken said, what about Akasaka Nitro? Smiley and Angry said, beat them up as usual. Right, Angry? Smiley was overdoing it, so I had to desperately stop him. Meanwhile, Payin, Pachin, Hake, and Matsuya attribute Tokyo Manji's success to Mikey's leadership. Draken agrees, adding that Mikey, who is riding ahead of them, is in the face of Tokyo Manji. Is the invincible Mikey, you know? Seeing Mikey, Matsuya remarks that without Mikey's presence, it feels lonely. Interrupting their thoughts, Mikey urges them to ride faster, as they may miss the sunrise. Or, we will be late to see the sunrise. Are you guys turtles? The group arrives at the beach at 4 a.m., where they marvel at the starry sky. To combat the cold weather, Baji orders Chifuyu and Hake to buy something from the convenience store. Draken starts running on the beach. Joined by Matsuya, Baji, Pachin, Payin, and Smiley, the 5th Division leader's absence is by Draken. Mucho did not want to bring his car. By the time Hake and Chifuyu return, then the sky has brightened, and the captains have tired out from the run. Draken spots Mikey at the pier, watching the sunrise. As Draken approaches Mikey's spot, the other members stare in awe at the sky. Mikey places his palm above the sun and clenches it, grasping the sun. He tells Draken to hold onto the world. Then with a smile, Draken said, of course. This year we will conquer the whole country. As he remembers that morning, Draken weeps, remarking that his final memories are with Tokyo Manji. He tells Emma he is on his way, visualizing their spirits reuniting as he dies. And elsewhere, at the hideout of the Rokuhara Tandai gang. In that place, the executive members of Rokuhara watched Toranno beat up the perpetrators who attacked Draken. He reprimanded the guys for their extreme actions. However, at that time, Toranno was seen grinning, expressing his pleasure in himself, and adding that they were doing well. Then the scene returns to the amusement park. At that place Senju watched Takemichi, who was still shocked by Draken's incident. At that moment in Takemichi's mind, he recalled the previous times when he frantically asked the paramedics Draken's condition, then the paramedics informed Takemichi about Draken's death. Even though Senju called Takemichi several times, Takemichi didn't respond at all. Not long after that, Akashi arrived at the amusement park, then he asked about the incident that happened to Draken. After confirming that Rokuhara Tandai perpetrated Draken's death, he swears for revenge. After that, Akashi ordering Benkei to gather the rest of Brahmin. Hearing Akashi's plans, Senju is shocked and she says that they cannot act today. Senju and her brother begin arguing about the best course of action. Akashi angrily declares that their goals have changed, from being number one to a bloodbath. However, Senju was angry and she rejected the decision. In the midst of the commotion of the two brothers, suddenly Tarano came with all the Rokuhara Tandai gang members. After mocking Draken's death, Tarano and Akashi exchange curses and they are ready to take their gang into battle. The familiar sound of motorbikes broke the commotion. And yeah, that's when Mikey arrived to break up the commotion between the two gangs who were in the place. And not only that, Mikey arrived with the entire Kanto Manji member behind him. On the other hand, Takemichi was frightened and shocked by the commotion that was happening. And now the three big gangs of the rulers of Tokyo have an assembly in the same place. As the three gangs face each other, Tarano and Akashi prepare to fight, with Akashi declaring the battle in Draken's honor. Tarano loudly proclaims the start of the War of the Three Deities. And then Sanzu orders the Kanto Manji gang to kill their opponents. The battle between the three deities in Tokyo has taken place. As the gang starts fighting, Akashi makes the Kanto Manji gang's insults clear, accusing them of abandoning Draken. Meanwhile, Senju frantically tries to confer with the Brahmin members. She tells them not to let their emotions overwhelm them, but that fails. Then on the other hand, Mikey said to Coco to observe the current situation. Coco was surprised at asking Mikey, "Not gonna make any moves, boss?" Mikey replied, "Yeah, I leave this to Haruchio and the rest. You don't really care about it?" About what? In this situation, Mikey doesn't seem to care about the fight that is going on in front of him, but at that time Coco looks worried about Mikey. On the other side of the field, the Rokuhara gang started to move. Tarano said to his guys, "My former Tenjiku boys, let's forget about the Kanto Manji gang, shall we? It's so rare to see Akashi getting all rowdy like this. It'll be fun to settle Brahmin first." Hearing the order, the former Tenjiku member eagerly obeyed Tarano's instructions. Meanwhile, Akashi fights his way toward Tarano, defeating many Rokuhara Tandai members. From the sidelines, Senju implores her brother to calm down. As Senju rushes to stop Akashi, suddenly Waka blocks her, then Waka said, "Don't get involved, Senju. This fight isn't like any other. Someone's life just got taken. And that person was Draken." Then Waka said to Takemichi, "Hanagaki, take care of Brahmin's princess." After that, Waka joined the fight with Benkei. In the middle of the brawl, Akashi gets closer to Tarano. Akashi demands to know why Tarano killed Draken, revealing that Draken was not a formal member of Brahmin. The moment Akashi shouted at Tarano, the two members of Rokuhara Tandai held him back. Seeing Akashi, who was already helpless, Tarano approached him and tried to hit him. Suddenly Benkei appears, and he blocks Tarano's punch. Benkei remarks that Tarano's punch is weak despite his size. And suddenly, behind Benkei, Waka leaps through the air. And he lands a kick on Tarano's head. As Waka lands upright, he tells Tarano that he is fighting with Brahmin's top brass. Tarano zealously declares his excitement to face the first generation of Black Dragon. In another battle, Kikucho fights each member of the Kanto Manji gang, in an attempt to reach Mikey. And at the same time, Kikucho wonders about Mikey's passive state. as Kikucho was overwhelmed by the two members of the Kanto Manji gang who were holding him back. Suddenly Sanzu came, and he swung a pipe over his head. After that Senzu said, "No matter how strong you are in fights, it does be much easier to use weapons, you know?" And suddenly, Ran appeared behind Sanzu, and he hit Sanzu with his baton, and Ran agreed with Sanzu's opinion. Meanwhile, Mochi rages against all the Kanto Manji members. The Kanto Manji gang realizes the sheer power of the S62 generation as Mochi fights through them. In another fight, Wakasa and Benkei are seen preparing to fight against Tyranno. Knowing the opponent was the strongest duo Black Dragon, Tyranno was impressed, then he said, "The greatest duo lives up to its name. You have defeated 100 of my members." Watching the brawl from the sidelines, Senju explains to Takemichi about the history of Benkei and Waka. Benkei and Waka. Before the first generation of Black Dragon happened, these two divided the Kanto region. Kanto used to be divided into two parts, the east and the west. On the west side of Kanto, with 600 members, a gang named Ragnarok controlled the nation's biggest gang. Their leader, who once walked through the aftermath of a battle soaked in blood, was called Red Cliff, Arashi Keizo aka Benkei as Ragnarok president. And to rival, Ragnarok was their counterpart, where 12 Eastern Kanto gangs merged together to make Kudo Rengu. And leading the gang was a man who was feared and was named the White Leopard, Imaushi Wakasa, aka Waka as Kudo Rengu president. The two gangs feuded aggressively, but the person who managed to combine the two teams together was a man who no one knew about. He is Sano Shinichiro. And so, the gangs in Kanto became reunited. As Takeomi has always said, there's no mistaking that the toughest brawlers in Japan are those two. At that moment, although Benkei wants to preserve their strength against Mikey, they prepare to fight Tyranno. Waka warns that South's strength is comparable to Mikey's. Suddenly Tyranno boisterously beckons his opponents. And then Benkei and Waka responded by rushing to attack Tyranno. A clash between Brahman Strongest and Rokuhara Leader will continue in the next episode. So, what do you think? Give your opinion in the comments for the next episode. So don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the latest videos from us. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoy and see you later.